In my last video about Oregon demographics, I almost totally focused on the urban-rural divide and population distribution. After making it, I realized that demographics in the United States is often centered on race and ethnicity, so I decided I should cover that as well. The two subjects tie together because in the United States, race and ethnicity are usually connected with urban, suburban, or rural living, at least in the common wisdom. Part of the common wisdom about Oregon, often believed by both Oregonians and people outside the state, is that Oregon is more white and less diverse than other parts of the United States. This video will explore to what extent that is true. First off, Oregon is markedly less African American than many states. Only 2.2% of Oregon's population identifies as African American, and that group is also concentrated in a small area. Over 50% of Oregon's African American population lives in Multnomah County, home of Portland, and 80% of Oregon's African American population lives in either the Portland metro area or close to the state capital of Salem. So if we look at Oregon in terms of a binary question of black and white, Oregon seems to have a very small African American population confined to one big city. But there is more to the story than that. Like much of the western states, Oregon's largest ethnic group, according to the U.S. Census, is Hispanic people. This can be somewhat confusing because according to the U.S. Census, Hispanics are not a racial group, but an ethnic group. So the U.S. Census reports them as two different categories, since Hispanic people can be of any racial group. Along with people of Hispanic descent, Oregon also has Native Americans, Asian Americans, and Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders. Outside of that group, the census has non-Hispanic whites. One interesting difference here is that while Oregon's most populous county, Multnomah, has the highest percentage of African Americans, it does not have the lowest percentage of non-Hispanic whites. 7 counties in Oregon have lower percentages: the suburban counties of Washington and Marion, and the rural agricultural counties of Hood River, Morrow, Umatilla, Jefferson, and Malheur. Most of the minority population in these counties is Latino, although Jefferson County is home to the Warm Springs Reservation and has a large Native American population. The county in Oregon with the lowest percentage of non-Hispanic whites is Morrow County, an agricultural county with slightly less than 12,000 people. This population pattern separates Oregon from many states, where the minority population is concentrated in urban areas and quickly drops in adjoining suburban or rural areas. To take one extreme but illustrative example, in Michigan, Wayne County, home of Detroit, is 49% non-Hispanic white. A little bit less than a half hour south, the next adjoining county, Monroe County, is 91% non-Hispanic white. Oregon and Michigan in general provide a good comparison for looking at how diverse Oregon is. Oregon and Michigan have almost the same percentage of non-Hispanic whites, about 75% each. Oregon has a higher percentage of foreign-born and non-English speakers than Michigan, however. Michigan has one large county that is majority-minority, but its minority population quickly drops outside of that urban area. Oregon, on the other hand, has no majority-minority counties, but its suburban and rural population has a higher percentage of minorities, mostly Hispanics. Also, of course, Michigan is the home of Detroit, which has traditionally been a center of African American culture, while Oregon has no such location with such a history. Oregon's more diffuse minority population, split across several ethnic groups, and not concentrated in one geographical region, has interesting consequences. As part of the Voting Rights Act, states must attempt to create congressional districts that represent minority communities, if possible. But the Supreme Court ruled in a case called Thornburg versus Gingles that a minority population must be sufficiently large and geographically compact to form a district. While Oregon's minority population is sufficiently large to have its own district, it is not geographically compact, since it is spread in urban, suburban, and rural areas. I am planning to address this in a future video about Oregon's redistricting. Once again, the main point of this to me is that generalizations and stereotypes about any geographical area are often simplistic, if not inaccurate. In the United States, many people assume that urban areas are minority and suburban or rural areas are white. And in a state like Oregon, the picture is much more complicated than that. This is often reinforced because people, both Oregonians and visitors, often see only the Portland area and might not visit places like Woodburn in Marion County. So I want to summarize this video by saying that population patterns are not always what we assume they might be.